Joe Zekas from YoChicago and New Home Notebook, and I'm sitting here at EcoLogic Lofts with Bill Senne. How would you articulate the fundamentals of real estate?
Well, you know, the three L's: location, location, location. I think that's why, I know that's why we're sitting back in Bucktown, where, you know, I got my start in real estate.
Well, let's go back to then, because I remember back then you were one of the emerging barons in Bucktown.
Mm-hmm. You guys coined that phrase, by the way.
I was invited to come over here by a number of people, and I did come over here, and I looked around and I said, this is just like where I grew up in New Jersey. I don't want any part of it. What did you see back then that I didn't see? Because Bucktown obviously has become a roaring success in the meantime.
Well, what we saw is its close proximity to the downtown area. We saw the fact that you know, with the L stop, Damon Avenue, you know, our first loft development at the corner of Damon and Wabansia, we were kind of shocked at how many, you know, single women got off the L stop and would actually walk down Damon Avenue. In fact, the first 7 of our 10 buyers were single, you know, single women who weren't waiting to get married to buy their first place. So we saw that as a real kind of seal of approval. We felt if women felt comfortable enough to be in the neighborhood. And back then it was pretty rough. I mean, you had to have a, you know, pretty strong stomach to take the neighborhood back then.
Women have always been more adventurous on location than men, has been my experience.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
As long as they have the right creature comforts, they're willing to.
Yeah, they venture out a little bit more. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. They have more of a sense and a creativeness to them than most men, I think so. But that was a sign of approval, and we actually stumbled on Bucktown. We wanted to be in Logan Square. We like the housing stock in Logan Square. To this day, I mean, the housing stock in Logan Square is some would say arguably better than Bucktown. They were, you know, these were typical workers' cottages here, where Logan Square had the more gracious gray stones. But we stumbled upon Webster and Damon, and
Logan Square doesn't have vaulted sidewalks. It didn't have rats at the time.
This is true. Well, but what gave you, you know, no one back then cried if you tore down a worker's cottage, and that was, you know, where I think you wouldn't have the artistic expression. You would have the availability of land in Logan Square. People would definitely protest if you were trying to tear down a graystone, as opposed to a worker's cottage here. And, you know, it allowed Bucktown to evolve, I think, a little bit more cutting edge. We have some pretty wild architecture, you know, in Bucktown, some of it good, some of it bad. But it's allowed, it gave us more of a blank canvas, if you will, and allowed developers to come in and kind of express themselves a little bit more than you would have in a Logan Square or Lincoln Park.
Let's go back. First new construction deal. When did you start graduating past rehabbing houses?
First new construction deal or rehab
larger rehab.
was Bucktown Gardens, 1701 North Damon. You remember our Art Sundry? It was Art Sundry and ourselves. He had the property, couldn't get it financed, so he came to us, and I remember sitting in a room with him. We had I think we had $10,000 in a briefcase, just because he, you know, we're just some young kids. He didn't think we had any, you know, net worth, so to speak. Probably thought we were drug dealers because we had, you know, we had it in a briefcase. But came up with the financing. We had some partners who owned taverns, and George Tavaleris and that, and who owned taverns, and just he didn't like banks. He liked to have cash. So we came up with the downstruck to be Art's partners at right at the corner of Damon and Webster. So. But that was our first rehab project. It
only took $10,000 to get.
No, it was a little bit more than that, but it was $10,000 in cash. I remember that. It was probably our initial buying was probably closer to $100,000, but
that was a success.
It was a success. You know, those were the days where truly, if you build it, they will come. You know, we couldn't find projects fast enough and raw line fast enough to build things. We sold out of everything before we ever finished. You know, then it went on to Marshfield Gardens, which is 720 North Marshfield, which was a concrete building. Then Art and I parted ways, and I partnered up with Cal Boonder. We did Clock Tower Lofts. And what Clock Tower Lofts, this area reminds me a lot of what Clock Tower Lofts was.
It was on the edge of nowhere.
Edge of nowhere. It was all manufacturing. We used to have to, every Sunday I'd have to call the police department at 8 o'clock in the morning because they used to use the alley by Clock Tower to, when they would steal a car, they would burn it so there'd be no fingerprints. And that's where they dump the burning cars. So before we'd have open houses, I'd be out there with the police department, getting the burned out cars towed out. It was really the edge of nowhere. But that again afforded us, a great niche. Kel and I, we did that building, and then I went door to door and knocked on every manufacturing building over there. And 90% of the buildings over there we developed because we saw the potential of that little pocket, bought up everything around us, and that led to a succession of eight loft deals over there, and 8 loft deals, about 3 townhouse deals, shopping center that I developed over there. So it was a great little pocket and a great run for us.